You are now listening to the Two Dads Run podcast. Just two dads who run, talking about running and being dads and some other stuff.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. My name is Gray.
This is Kevin.
And we are your hosts for the Two Dads Run podcast. Thanks for joining us again this week. We have an awesome show lined up for you today. But before we get to our guest, Kevin, how's it been going, man? What's new? What's shaking? What's popping?
Yeah, man.
What's going on?
Yeah, no. Things going well, man. I just actually got some lab work done. I'm going to get the good old physical, just to make sure.
What happens when you get old, bro?
I'm telling you, definitely not looking forward to, doing those things, but it's definitely well worth it because I don't want to, do this race that I am like every day, every week, trying to learn more about what I'm getting myself into. And, and then also I've like read up and down most recently the travel restrictions into Chile, man. And, now that it's 6 months and some change away, it's like, what do I do now? Cause I've got the lodging already confirmed. I'm like, man, if I can't get into the country, then what's going to happen? So I'm not panicking at all yet, but I'm just like, man, that's only 6 months away, and this is a level 4 restriction.
So what does that mean? So you have to like quarantine for 2 weeks when you get there?
That means I'm not allowed in the country. In Chile. Yeah, in Chile. It's pretty bad down there. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, unless you're...
So is that like an American
resident
thing?
Or what?
Is that an American thing, or they're just not letting anyone in?
Yeah. Well... it was essentially, they had like a Q&A on the U.S. Embassy website, and it said just level 4, and it said Americans do not travel to this country. And I'm like, shit.
Damn, bro.
And
don't pay any more money.
And then there's different parts of the country in Chile that you have to have, because, this isn't a short trip. It's a long trip. And so you have to get 72 hours a negative test to just go. And then when you get to Chile, the Aysén region, which is the Patagonia Mountains further south, it can't be more than 96 hours. And, if something was to happen through the travel, because, it's pretty far.
Yeah, if you get delayed or whatever, yeah.
You could be fucked. You might not be able to get in country. They might have to send you back home.
Yeah, dude, don't send any more money to Chile right now.
I know. So that's kind of been, I've been thinking about, but, and then what else? Now I took some time off of work this past week, Monday, Tuesday, to just get some stuff done around the house, and
must be nice.
Look into first time in years, but got some
first
good
time
shit
you've
done.
taken time off in years.
No, like to to not do anything but
a staycation.
Staycation.
Gotcha.
Take care of like stuff around the house. Because I'm always got to go.
Yeah. Well, that's depressing, dude. Way to start off the show with a bang, huh?
Was that bad?
No.
I know, right? No, where he's like, oh my goodness.
Such a bummer.
Well, so that's the Debbie Downer intro.
Could have saved that for the outro, I guess.
Stay tuned. It gets more exciting,
Stay tuned if you want to hear how Kevin might not go to Chile now.
But on a positive note, you've actually been doing some cool things, learning how to swim.
Oh. So yeah, the swim has been a little bit of a regression, and I'm sure all of you people are sick and tired of hearing about me swimming, but been a little regression. It is what it is. Just going to keep powering through. Hopefully we'll eventually figure it out. So, but there's one interesting story that some people may be able to relate to, whether you're a triathlete or not, whether you just like to hop in the pool. One friend, she messages me every once in a while and she'll be like, yeah, I swam getting ready for a marathon. So I can totally relate, to how bad you suck. And so there was a couple weeks ago, week and a half ago now, I guess at the time of the recording, that I showed up for my lane time. I was on time, and it was early in the morning. It was one of the rare occasions that I swim in the morning, and the masters team was there, and they were taking up every single shared lane. Because as I've mentioned before on the podcast, there's never single lanes available, ever. It's just not a thing that exists, right?
That's so bad.
Yeah. I mean, they're always booked solid and there's never anyone in them. Anyway, I digress. So I show up, all of the shared lanes are taken up by the masters team. So I wait for like 5 minutes, and lo and behold, there's a single lane wide open. So I was like, screw it. I'm hopping in the single lane. I start swimming, right? So I'm swimming along. I've got my lane card with it, and they're color coded to differentiate between the shared and the single and all this, that, and the other. So I put my lane card at the top of the lane like I'm supposed to with my water bottle and everything else. And I'm swimming, and I'm about 150 meters into my warm up, and I hear, sir, excuse me, sir. And I stopped, and I was like, yeah, what's up? She's like, are you supposed to be in a single lane? I said, no, but they're taking up all of the other lanes. So I waited 5 minutes. I'm now probably 3 minutes into my workout, and you see my lane card. You know, I'm not saying all this. I'm thinking it. I'm like, lady, look, you know, I'm not where I'm supposed to be. You can clearly see all the lanes to your right are full. But I said, no problem. Hey, I'll be happy to share with you if you'd like, but you know, I'm already into my workout. And she's like, no, he already said he would share with me, and kind of gestured to the guy next to her. So I'm like, lady, you have a place to swim. You know full well I'm aware I'm not supposed to be where I am, but you stopped my workout anyway. Thanks a lot, Karen. I was really upset. I wanted to yell at her, but I didn't.
Those are the same people.
I restrained myself because it was like
at fast food
right.
drive-through, like it's the end of the world.
Didn't some guy, speaking of fast food drive-thrus, there was a guy I read on the news or heard on the news. He pulled a gun on the window girl at Starbucks over like a creamer that he didn't get for his coffee. The girl just so happened to be the town police chief's daughter. Like, dude,
my. At a Starbucks, I haven't heard anything like that happen at a Starbucks.
Bro, if you are that mad about some damn creamer, you have got some issues, and you probably shouldn't have a gun. Just my 2 cents.
Jeez.
Anyway, I don't want to get political.
It's become a crazy place. Look at you.
Anger issues.
I was bringing the tone down. Look at you.
Anger issues. There's just people have anger issues. Anyway, I guess we're just both kind of in meh moods today. But
but no, that's an awesome story because it's like.
Well, I'm sure people will relate to people. The swimming community, I've realized is a little uppity. Not as laid back as the running community, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with running,
they seem a little
anybody
elitist.
can go out and run. That's the beauty of running. That's why you've got these guys like Kipchoge and Lopez Lamong, like we were talking with, some awesome
He's had a rough week.
Yeah. I mean, but that's what's so beautiful about running is that anybody can do it. Anybody. But then swimming, you have to kind of be near a pool or an ocean, clean body of water at least to swim. And then you think about, especially we're in the backyard of like Mecca swim clubs right now and how much money that costs. Yeah, it's about a good, $5,000 a kid, maybe a year.
They're still elitists.
So, but I'm just saying, yes, it definitely is a different environment.
Yeah.
But
anyway.
Both fun, though.
Yeah. Anyway, I did do the, as we mentioned before, the Sir Walter Pop-Up Miler, and we're actually, good segue to our guest tonight. We're actually interviewing Pat and Sandy from Sir Walter Running, the race directors of the Sir Walter Miler, which was pretty cool. It's a pretty cool event coming up on August 6th of 2021. But as I mentioned, I think on episode 14 with Joe Ovius, they do a pop-up miler every Tuesday, where you go out and they have various different races for different, time expectations that you're going to run, because they don't really want a 8-minute person running with the, 4:30 person, right? Because that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. They're just going to get lapped. And so I went out and I jumped in the 5:30 or slower race and ended up going 5:27. So I was pretty happy with that. First time racing on a track since spring of 2000. So it was awesome, man. It was really good to get back out there, to let one rip. Kind of curious as to what I could do if I were to actually train for it, and put in some speed work, because I haven't done any in months. Put in some track work and run more than twice a day, but that would kind of throw a wrench in my triathlon training. So we'll stay away from that for now.
Don't you dare mention that to Kristen. As far as the next thing that you want to do that's going to take time.
Yeah. Well,
you got to be careful, especially with the triathlon, is how much time it gets.
And so I've decided that I'm going to go straight from triathlon training right into marathon training and probably do Kiowa Island full marathon on December 10th.
You did say that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that'll give me 10 weeks to get ready for Kiowa Island. So not exactly long enough, but close. And I'll be pretty fit from training for the marathon or for the triathlon. So I think it'll be okay.
Yeah. I mean, I would probably set a goal of something like to just go out and see how well you can do versus trying to, I think, maybe commit to a time.
Oh yeah.
Because of the type of training and stuff you'll be doing. It wouldn't be necessarily the ideal leading up into it. No. And that's not, that wasn't really the point. That'll be a beautiful race.
Yeah. Apparently they changed the course this year. Some reviews that I've read in the past that it wasn't the greatest course. It was a little boring because it was kind of just around the resort and around the golf course and things like that. But apparently they've changed the course this year. So we'll see. No one's ever run it before. So we don't know what it looks like now, but we'll find out.
Cool.
I guess.
Yeah. So
if I survive the triathlon,
so the guys, that we're going to be speaking here, to, it was awesome, getting to know them. And just, the other thing we were talking, about what's cool about the running community is that it is a community and how paths cross, and how Sandy went to Broughton, which is a cross country powerhouse up here in the Raleigh area. And then, how they were able to just kind of start forming their friendship, just based off of bumping into each other. But really cool similarities. I think it's awesome to just see the stuff that they have fun with come to fruition, and and how that all panned out. So, I mean, what about you?
No, I thought it was really great speaking to them and hearing everything that they've done for the running community, especially here in the Raleigh area. I mean, it's just great. I mean, they have really taken this race that was started with just Sandy running around at Cardinal Gibbons, and have really turned it into one of the premier events in the country. U.S. trials and that kind of stuff notwithstanding, right? So, anything away from Hayward Field, this is probably one of the premier events in the country now. And it's super unique. They have the fans on the track, and then they create a tunnel for these elite runners, these internationally elite runners. And it's really turned into something really neat. And they have really shown a pretty bright spotlight on the sport. And I'm just really excited to get out there on August 6th and watch it and be a part of it. And if they need help, we'll be there to help them. And if not, we'll be there as fans. So really excited to see that. But let's get into the interview, and we'll catch you guys on the other side.
All right, everyone. This is Kevin again with the Two Dad Runs podcast, and
Gray.
So today we've got Pat and Sandy from the Sir Walter Running Organization, two badass guys, a badass running organization. So Pat, Sandy, how are you guys doing?
Doing great. Honored to be on here, and obviously honored to join alongside my partner in crime, Pat Bryce.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's always fun to talk running. This is probably similar to how you guys got together. Sandy and I, met at a bluegrass concert, not actually at a running event, and then it turned out we had a lot in common despite being 10 years apart. But it's always fun to talk running. So good to be on the show.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we get into how you guys all got formed, I do want to thank you. I came out to do the pop-up mile this past Tuesday and had a blast. It was the first time that I had run a competitive race, so to say, in like 21 years. So it was awesome. Thank you guys so much for doing that. It was really cool to be back on a real track and to see some people run really fast. I was blown away by how many people out there can go sub 5 on a mile. It was quite impressive. So it's amazing what you guys have done for the community, and we just really appreciate it.
Yeah, glad that you got to see it all. It was a lot of fun. Like you said, it's I grew up in Charlotte doing similar kind of meets, and then ran the Godiva meets in Durham, right out of college, and whenever I could kind of get over there. But it is a fun night, and it's nice that we had good weather and there are a lot of folks out, and you got to mix it up and see kind of what we do.
Yeah, it was really awesome.
So Pat,
guys, tell us a little bit about how you guys got started. How you said you met at a bluegrass concert, but then how did you get from that point to founding Sir Walter Running and then ultimately the Miler?
Yeah, I'll jump in and I'll let Pat fill in some things I've missed. But yeah, so we meet at a bluegrass concert with one of our favorite bands, Old Habits, and over at 5 Points here in Raleigh. And I obviously kind of tracking with Pat, I knew that he was a big running head and was a pretty prominent national rider. And so kind of that was always, talk to him probably periodically, just run into him different places. But in terms of Sir Walter Miler, that kind of started just basically, I ran in college, was very fortunate, had some post-collegiate success and wanted to keep the ball rolling, wanted to break 4 minutes. It's been a big dream since I gotten somewhat close in college. And so I'd kind of spent a summer training and basically was at a kind of I consider myself a sub-elite guy and wasn't able to get into any meets. And so my brother, who was coaching me at the point, Logan Roberts, who now coaches at Furman, was coaching in Carolina, an accomplished runner of himself, 150 half miler. He was fit. And so we were at the beach and we were like, hey, let's just put on a meet. I if anything over my years, I had in younger running, it's like I could put on a meet. I had helped kind of start some of the 2 mile tune-ups for Foot Locker and had done some 1K. Really enjoyed putting on these kind of throwing together these meets that I was running in when I was younger. And so we were kind of, let's just do that. And so we called Cardinal Gibbons and was like, hey, would y'all be cool? Because I had a connection there. Would y'all be cool if we brought on a on a night that's okay with y'all? Could we bring up, FAT timing? And I'm going to try to break 4 and my brother's going to pace me. And we may have a few other guys. And that was kind of the premise. We were hoping to have a few more people because Logan was going to run, try to run, 159, 2 minutes for an 800. And then, see basically, who else we could, if we could recruit anyone else. Long story short, we couldn't. And it ended up just being Logan's going to pace 800. I'm going to try to run a mile and see how fast. So we were like, within a span of a couple of days, we were like, let's invite some of our high school buddies. It was going to be in town. Ended up, Gibbons was like, yeah, y'all can have it on this Wednesday night, but it's got to be after the second football practice. Like they're doing 2 a day. So we're like, okay, fine, whatever. So within that context, we were like, hey, we need some help kind of getting the word out. So of course, Pat was our go-to guy. So we're like, Pat, would you mind kind of helping us? Like, I don't even think Instagram was in existence at that point, but like we had Twitter and Facebook. And I think Pat had maybe dropped something on, News and Observer when that mattered. And so we basically we're like, let's let a few people know. Long story short, ended up having about 500 people come out, which was really cool. And Pat was on the mic as my brother and I were warming up. But Pat had the brilliant idea of, telling everybody, like, because it was just my brother, it was two people racing. And so so Pat was like, hey, y'all come out of the stands, like come cheer them all on the track. So everybody comes on the track and essentially creates this 400-meter tunnel. And so they finish the second football practice, football teams cheering. It ends up being a pretty cool scene. I think Pat's wife actually did a video that got like a ton of views. Like, and long story short, I didn't break 4, but it was a really special night. And we call it, and Pat, deemed that, or gave that the title, the Sandman Mile. That's my nickname, Sandman. And so we call that Sandman Mile. But I think coming out of that moment, we realized we were onto something, and it was way bigger than myself, but it was this chase of a really distinctive time. And it was an historic time. It was an exciting, people related to the mile. We were like, hey, let's try to build this, make it, expand it, actually try to build out a field. And that's when we kind of landed on the Sir Walter Miler. And that began, that was almost 8 years ago, began kind of the process of building Sir Walter Miler, which is our flagship event, but then building out the larger organization, which is Sir Walter Running. I hope I touched the main points. Pat, did I do that justice?
Yeah. No, you did a great job. I mean, that's really it. I think, we were seeing a band play, and I was wearing like a Carolina track shirt, and he was like, hey, are you Pat? And I was like, oh yeah, you're Sandy. You're like the Broughton guy. And we got to talking, and it wasn't long after that. At the time I had a running blog, and this was like, I guess it was 2013, that got a lot of action before everybody had a blog and a podcast. And we were able to put that event together and, got it on Flow Track. And we just got approached by a lot of people that were like, hey, y'all should do this with like more people. And, we didn't really think about it afterwards a whole lot, but then it was like, let's see if we can do it. And we put together a Kickstarter and raised, I think, what was it, like $3,500 to. Yeah.
But like the effort that it took to like get the materials or get like the swag that we ended up sending out. Like we definitely we might have raised 3,500, but the time and like money to like actually send out the stuff, like we definitely made it. It was a break-even operation for sure.
Yeah, it was. I don't think we're going to do any more Kickstarters. Like,
no,
giving out all the swag, like, it's not an easy task. But yeah, I mean, we really laid out the idea of putting together a dream track meet of what we thought would be fun and not boring. And at the time, Raleigh Brewing had just opened. My mom and my wife went to Meredith. Nobody was allowed to go on that track, and we basically like, hey, we got this idea for a track meet. And they looked at us like we were crazy. And, ultimately they were like, hey, well, if you guys pay for security, you pay for the Porta Johns, you basically take care of everything. We won't charge you to rent the track. And, I think they thought probably 100 or 200 people were going to show up. And we probably had a few thousand that first year. Had 3 guys break 4 minutes in the mile. It was the first time in 40 years that somebody had broken 4 in the mile in Raleigh, and the general public just really took to it. I mean, we knew the runners and the running nerds were going to love it, but the general kind of person were like, hey, here's what you're going to do. You're going to go to Raleigh Brewing, have a few beers. We're going to have some food trucks, walk over. The whole meet's going to take 45 minutes, sub 4 mile. Then you're going to walk back over to Raleigh Brewing, have a few beers. We're going to have bands there. All the runners are going to come over there, and it's going to be fun. And it just worked out exactly the way we wanted it to, for the most part. And from there, it's just like we've just built on it. Like the pop-ups were kind of the first thing, because Raleigh has never had a community track series. And so we took what, they did at Godiva and Chapel Hill and the Charlotte Track Club in Charlotte, where I grew up, and basically really shrunk that down to, hey, we're just going to do some miles, have one extra event, and do a 4x4. In and out in an hour. People got stuff to do. Track meets can be so boring. So we just did that, and just kind of every year add a little bit, take some things away, and just basically, this is not our job. We both have real jobs. Sandy's a realtor and a pastor, and I'm a mortgage banker. And so we really get to like live out our running dreams for fun. If we have ideas we think are cool, we bounce them off the rest of our team. And if we get enough positive feedback, we're like, all right, let's go. And if something doesn't work, we're just like, you know what? Hey, we tried. We thought it was going to be cool, but we're not forced to bring whatever back. So it's just really like, promoting track meets like concerts and that kind of thing, as opposed to like track meets. That really is not what we wanted to do. There's plenty of people that do that.
So, so it's now kind of, I'd say, kind of taking a life of its own. What are some of the things with the evolution of it that you guys have been just wowed by? Is it the athletes that have come and traveled? Is it just the size? What are some of the things that even now that you just look back and continue to just be like, my goodness, I can't believe that's actually happening?
I'll speak first. The thing, Kevin, for me, honestly, is like, I love how this has become a staple of Raleigh. What people don't like. So here's the deal about Sir Walter, the big hidden secret. The reality is one night a year, we have national relevance. The other 364, we actually have really deep roots locally. We have a lot of buy-in from the local running community at the like greater Raleigh triangle area. And I think to me, like, that's actually the legacy. It's like, yeah, cause like a lot of people like want to have that national splash. I get it. But like our thing is like, let's go really deep locally. Like, let's have a lot of buy-in with our people, putting on as many free events or at cost or at value and putting on sweet, fun things. And then building this running community here, being a part of helping to build, which is already a great running community here in Raleigh, and then hosting one night of a year and bringing runners into that. Like, that's actually the success of it. Like, it's not about that people know us like on the other coast. It's like, no, we've got some really dedicated, committed, a really cool, inclusive community of runners here. And I think for me, that's the thing I get most pumped about, the evolution of like, it's just fun that people know about Sir Walter. People be like, oh man, that's, I'm honored to be associated with it. Like the days of when how I got started, almost irrelevant now. What it is now is that like, it's people that come up to the pop-up miles and have a blast. And they're like, hey, I'm going to be at Sir Walter this year. Freaking awesome. It's the fact that Sir Walter's the first week of all the, when all the cross-country teams start practice, and you have a ton of cross-country families come out and like want to host families or are a part, so it's just like, these are I feel like we've just created some really deep roots locally where people like first Friday in August, they know like, oh, I'm at Sir Walter. Like, I'm going to invite my brother down from Baltimore. I want him to be a part. Like, I'm not going to the beach that weekend, or like, it's become a staple of like kind of the event community here in Raleigh, and the runners have owned it. Like, I feel like and that's what makes it so much fun for the elite runners to come in, because we have people who actually have become knowledgeable of the track scene. And also we just have like, people are like elite runners now love coming back through Raleigh or trying to find a way because they like love their host family. And it's like, that comes from like just a hospitable, gracious, knowledgeable, inclusive running community that I'm honored to be a part of. And I think Sir Walter has helped foster. I think that's what I've been most pumped to be associated with.
Yeah, definitely. I think you said it. Yeah. I think the one thing that people overlook nationally when they talk about our meet, because everybody does things their own way, but we know, I mean, you guys saw it the other night, when there's 200 or 300 people out running their hardest mile, they become our biggest promoters when it comes to like the miler.
Yes.
Yeah. So they show up and they bring their friends, and people come from out of town. It's become like the hub of where every college coach has a wild, night once a year. And it's turned into like a week-long thing. And very organically, we want it to be fun. We don't treat it like a job. And, we're pretty close to when it's happening this year. So it's a little nerve-wracking because we didn't have it last year. So we're trying to get back, and with all the COVID stuff, we kind of get back to where it is. But the past few weeks, the pop-ups just keep growing and growing. And it's just been a good reminder that, people still want to run. They want to run with people. They want to see, cool stuff. And then, with the Olympic trials happening, because we've been doing this for 7 years, a lot of our athletes will be running the Olympic trials, and some of them will make the Olympic team. And that's really fun to follow. When you give people little pieces of the professional running world, they can lock into that, and we're not trying to overwhelm them. And so for us, it's a lot of fun to just cheer those folks on and then bring community with us. And if they want to get involved and run the pop-ups and then run the half marathon and run, whatever else we do, the Strava challenges in July, great. But if they only want to come to the miler or you name it, that's okay too. But we love that people from all over North Carolina have kind of latched onto us and really helped promote us. It's great going to and seeing somebody wearing a Sir Walter shirt, or even when I'm in Charlotte running in McAlpine Park and somebody's got like a Sir Walter singlet on, it's like, oh yeah, that's awesome. That's why we do it.
Yeah. I mean, and you guys are having a huge contribution, to the running community, not only in Raleigh, but in North Carolina. And I think, I was listening to your show, the Summer of Miles podcast, the most recent episode that dropped, and you were talking about how the state of North Carolina had more NCAA champions in track and field than any other state, correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
So we'll attribute some of that to you guys. I mean, it's building a culture. I mean, you have the premier track and field event and the mile. I mean, that was the glory event for so long. We let sprint borrow it for a while, but I think definitely the middle distance and the longer distance are making a comeback here lately. So I gotta say, I mean, listening to your show recently and hearing about everything that you guys are putting into it, I didn't realize that you guys were a realtor and a mortgage banker. So how have you found time to manage putting on such a big event? I've been in the event business in my life. So I know the amount of work that goes into it, just to put on a 4-hour event. So how have you guys managed to balance your quote unquote real job with putting on this, nationwide interest event?
Well, I'll hop in real quick, Sandy, and I'll let you add on. But one of the biggest things is, Sandy and I have been the face of it for a while. With Logan was very involved when he was here, but now we have a full team of very capable people. Jeff Karen, who works at Elliptigo, used to work for Saucony, is a big part of our success. He does our women's field. Stephen First, who is a well-accomplished runner in his own right, Olympic trials runner in multiple events. He does our men's field, and he's great with logistics. Melissa Coleman does a lot of our hospitality. And then, new member this year, James East. He's one of those guys that can plot a map for a race and tell everybody where to park and do things that Sandy and I just aren't very good at. And then, being in this business for 7 years, every summer we've had some interns, and some of the ones that really did well, really enjoyed it, have stuck around, and they're not official members of our team, but they'll say, hey, you're doing this or you're doing that. Hey, I'll come help. I'll do this. I'll do that. They've seen it, so they know what to do. So every year we get a little bit bigger base of people that are talented and kind of help this thing go. And that's really made it work because, I'm like you guys. I got two girls, a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old, and a wife, and a team of 10 people to report to me at work. And that can be taxing. So my life is very organized in the sense of it's basically work, family, and then our Sir Walter stuff, and that's really enough for me.
Yeah, I'll just co-sign the dream work of teamwork. I think like Pat and I get way too much credit for what our team puts together. And we really do try to build with each other and really bounce ideas. And that's a big part of it. It's just like, we've got some really freaking talented people we get to work with. And I'm humbled by that. People would want to, they work for free, right? Like they would want to give up their time to meet and put on an excellent event. But I'm again honored by the fact that people want to give them their time, but the event has come to a place where people want to be associated with it. So.
Well, even if they're doing it for free, I would have to imagine that it's a pretty decent look on a resume. So.
maybe. Yeah.
So I was going to ask, so you guys have, we got the pop-up miler, you've got the event that's actually coming in August. So, with last year, the COVID kind of wiped out everything. Or what are can you guys maybe drop some teasers? Are you guys doing anything different for the event that's coming up in August? To make it even more special, or, talk to us about, what are some of the plans and preparation that's going into making this one just a complete badass one?
Sandy, I'll go and just put it out there that, frankly, we don't know. We're still navigating.
Yeah. Awesome.
We're still navigating kind of what's happening. Making sure the venue's comfortable with the kind of crowd we're going to bring, if they're going to make some people wear masks or not, we have to kind of work with everybody else to make sure that they're cool with it. The good thing is we kind of know what to do within the parameters. So there'll be some surprises, but I think it will look a lot like what people have seen in the past. Our biggest draw for athletes is the Olympic trials. And so there's going to be 3 people go to the Olympics in the 1500, the 5K, the steeplechase, the 5,000. We're going after those people that came in 4th, 5th, and 6th and all the distance events. So our field really starts coming together right around July 4th. So that's when it really gets real. Today I did the sanctions with USATF, and that's part of it. And soon we'll book the Porta Johns. We've already had our meeting with Raleigh Brewing to set up everything for the post-party and the pre-party, start getting the food trucks together, that kind of stuff. But, this year is tricky. We're really having to kind of work on the fly within, the rules that we're given. And I think it's still going to be a lot of fun, but it might be a little different. We don't know. We didn't get to do it last year, and we want it to happen the closest to what we've seen in the past. I think people, the athletes tell us they don't come to Sir Walter for the money. They come because it's a unique experience of having fans extremely close on the track. And, somebody like Lopez Lamong, who is probably going to make the team in the 10K, who won our event and has our record. He told us that directly. And so we're going to continue to lean into that. We're never going to have the most money, but we're going to put the most energy into it. We're going to bring the community into it more than any other in the country. And that's what we know we're good at. That's our wheelhouse. And, Sandy being the local hero in the running community, it's really easy for him to get buy-in. I just kind of try to work the spreadsheets. So
yeah, not true.
So Sandy, fun fact, I'm actually, Coach Fish from Broughton is a former teammate of mine.
Oh, awesome.
In high school.
Okay.
He was a freshman when I was a senior. So
awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. I was at his wedding.
You're right. Yeah. And we actually Gray and I just went this past Sunday to the coach that actually coached us. So he just retired, 21 consecutive championships, regional conference championships, couple of state titles and runner up with that. But then we also, I probably won't drop the news, but then we also found out that Fish is actually going to be a head coach somewhere else. So I don't think that's actually official.
All right. Yeah, well,
it is now.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I mean, he's not going to be there. Gray, am I in trouble? Gray?
I am not going to tell anyone.
We might have to just
awesome.
cut this piece out.
Well, listen, here's the deal. I love David Christian. He coached me back when I was at Broughton, and I know he loves having Fish with him. The reality is, if you want to build a legacy, you got to send people out. So I'm sure DC will be nothing but thrilled.
Gray,
yeah, he just told us on Sunday that it wasn't public, but I guess according to Kevin, it is now.
Our coach is the biggest mouth coach in the world, so it is definitely public.
True. That's very true.
Everybody definitely knows. So as far as like Sandy, with your background, Broughton's been the powerhouse of the state for quite some time. You and your brother Logan were, some elite runners. So are you doing anything now personally? Or as far as running wise, anything that you're challenging yourself with?
Yeah. So I'll be honest with you, I kind of had to come to terms. I'm 33. I really wanted to break 4. I've been fighting that. But I think Father Tom has spoken. So I some events that I've never tried. I've never done a road 10K. I've never done a half marathon. So I am trying to do some longer events and actually enlisting the help of Stephen First, one of our teammates, to try to, see what I can do. And 33 here, got a couple responsibilities outside of running. I'm not even on my best day, even if things come together perfectly, I'm going to get a pat on the back and, keep selling home. So I know where my running stands, but I do love it. Pat and I do a lot of runs together. It's my way to socialize, and I still love training hard. I was out ripping an old NC State workout this afternoon over on Kaplan Hills over here near Lake Johnson. So I'm still getting after it. I love pushing the body, but so we'll see. I'm going to do a fast 10K and then hopefully a fast half marathon the rest of this year.
Nice. How's NC State's team looking this year?
Well, I mean, the women are just obviously next level. I think that the men, they got to catch up a little bit, but they got some talent. I mean, listen, Coach Geiger, who coached me, so I went to Georgetown undergrad and got to run under state at grad school. Coach Geiger, Raleigh Geiger at State, is one of the best coaches, and he just actually was inducted into the Hall of Fame. Pat and I did a podcast with him, which was so much fun. So he will continue to elicit great talent. I think the type of athletes that were successful under him 10, 15, 20 years ago are not the same ones that are now. It's a little different, but NC State is a distance powerhouse. They'll continue to be. The women's program is shining at another level, and I expect the men's will have to up their game to stay there. But I'd say if I can just pull back, the triangle running at large, UNC under the direction of Chris Miltenberg, who came from Stanford, is going to be dynamite. Wake Forest under John Hayes is killing it. Duke is about to kind of reload on the distance side. And even, regionally Virginia with Vin Lanana. So it's just like running in this area is incredible. I know we're known as, kind of a basketball, Tobacco Road with basketball, and, soccer's big in the youth ranks, but I'm telling you, cross country, track, the development of just young athletes who want to be more involved in the sport is exciting. And it's a fun time to be a part of running. I mean, I know that there's some things that are less exciting, hearing that top runners are getting using performance-enhancing drugs or something like that. But on the whole, it's just an exciting time to be a part.
What are you talking about?
Eating burritos, I know,
Yeah.
Seriously. But on the whole, I'll just say I'm excited about the direction of track locally here.
Awesome.
Or track and field, running at large, I should say.
And Pat, it was a pleasure meeting you and just seeing how involved that you were the other day at the pop-up. And in your background, you actually transferred over to the Carolina team, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I ran at Providence High School in Charlotte, and we were very good in the mid '90s. I think we were 3rd, 4th, and 5th in cross country in my time there. Came very close to winning a state championship one year, and I went to Carolina with the thought of being a kind of a team manager type, and then trained that summer. And Coach Craddock, rest in peace, told me, "Hey, just come try out." And I had one of those days where just everything came together, and I made the team, and then kind of was told by Coach Joe Nesbitt, Olympian at the time, was like, "Hey, great job. We'd love to have you, but you beat a few guys on scholarship, so we can't keep you on the team. So come out next year." And so I kind of became, I've always been a social person, and so I was. I worked at the radio station in college. I was the social chair of my fraternity and booked the concerts and all that kind of stuff, and then worked in the music business. So that was always kind of what I liked outside of running. And so I took a long time where I didn't really run. And then I got back into it at the 2008 trials, watching that with my cousins, and then ran, my first marathon right before I turned 30. And it was terrible. I ran 3:56 and walked about half of it. And then the next year said, "Hey, I think I'm going to train a little bit and see what I can do." And ran New York City when my sister was living there, and ran 3:04, qualified for Boston. The following spring, ran 2:55 at Boston. And, I was hooked. Really got into the kind of media side of running, made a lot of good friends that did that. And the media in track is very wide open. So, basically wrote a few blogs and was able to get credentialed to the Olympic trials immediately, and met a lot of people that are still in the sport, which helped Sandy and I out a lot when we're trying to do some things. But yeah, now at this point, more of a casual runner, but from time to time when my body feels good, I'll kind of dig in and do some things. And last year, kind of like Gray, had some fun doing some of that Nick Willis training, and was able to break 5 in the 1500 and, break 19 again in the 5K, and just kind of check off some things. And then my body said, "Hey, you need to chill out a little bit." So I'm back to running consistently, nothing crazy, but just did the Runology run tonight and ran 7:45 pace with some friends, and it feels good to do that. And I'm excited to go to the trials this weekend and run on pre-trail and do all that stuff. Yeah.
7:45. Hell yeah. Good job, Pat.
Well, I'll tell you what, though, so Kevin mentioned I'm training before we started recording, that I'm training for a triathlon, but man, after that pop-up mile the other night, it's like, I'm really kind of wanting to scratch that itch to see if I can, match some PRs from high school and, go sub 5 again. And I'm like, boy, because I'm running, I'm only been running twice a week, no speed work at all, no track work. So I'm like, oh, but that would totally derail all of my triathlon training. But man, it's tempting. It is. We have a buddy that ran a 4:02 in college, and so I was texting with him today, and he's like, "Dude, you could totally go sub 5." And I'm like, "Shut up! I don't, I don't need that. I don't need you pouring those thoughts in my head."
So being Gray's, actually, I'm Gray's triathlon coach, and then we do this podcast. We've been friends. I'm like, man, you are like the worst athlete to coach. It's like, no, don't go do the pop-up. I'm like, all right, if you go, just don't get injured if you go out there. So, but you didn't get injured.
That's a good way to start.
But then I felt bad as a coach because I got there right when he finished, and I mean, you guys literally start right on the dime too, because I guess it was 7 o'clock when obviously when the horn went off. But I was like, oh, maybe it's gonna be 7:07 by the time they actually get started. But no, I love how organized, and I think what I was super impressed by and was just in awe, like Gray was saying, where you just kind of want to scratch that itch. And I was just like a kid in a candy store, because you see the different ages, the different shapes and sizes, and everybody was just having fun. And you would think hopping on a track, and I remember hopping on the track, that it was somewhat intimidating, and especially not being on a track for such a long period of time. And then, I'm 39 pushing 40, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are kind of in the same boat where it's like, no, those days are behind us, but you go out there and it just seems like a very supportive environment. So, Pat and Sandy, so not only do you guys do the podcast, not only is the pop-up, not only, the awesome, Milers coming up in August, but what are some of the other events that you guys do to cater to the community that has also gained a lot of traction? And it doesn't even have to be running.
Yeah, I mean, I would say there's a few things we've done that have been good. And I think the Raleigh Half Marathon that we've done a few times has been a lot of fun. The first year we did it was like 1,000 degrees and crazy, and that was tough. And then the second year we kind of flipped our course and it was like 25 degrees.
Nice.
And it was great. Like we're having fun kind of digging into that. Some of the things we do with the community of, the past 2 Olympic marathon trials, we've hosted like a panel for all the local qualifiers, and had parties that revolve around celebrating the local runner. We think that's very important. So there's always kind of a mix of putting on events. Like in July, Sandy and I are huge Tour de France fans, so we do something called the Tour de Walter, which is basically there is one Strava challenge a week for 4 weeks in July, and we add your times together, and there's prizes. And that came in really handy because we've been doing that for many years. And last year with COVID, we basically did the same thing for the pop-up miles. We just had a different road mile every Tuesday that you could go run. And so, even when everybody was kind of disconnected from seeing everybody, I think we really did a good job of having events, even though they were virtual, but they weren't just like, hey, go run a random 5K and send in your time and send us $25. Everything was really directed we had a vision of what we wanted to do. And I think with what we do, we don't want to do events just to do them. We want to put on events that are fun and cool. And sometimes they're cool to us and not cool to everybody else, but I think we usually have a pretty good beat on it. And that's going to continue to evolve. I think one that I'll let Sandy kind of comment on that we did a few years ago that was a lot of fun was we rented out the Wake County Speedway. The guy was just like, hey, $500, y'all can rent it out. You can bring alcohol in and have a blast. And we basically did like a decathlon of running. We measured the speedway and set up cones to like a quarter mile. And we did like 4 events, and we had Victor from Raleigh Denim make us an American flag in denim and wave it, and play a bunch of loud country songs, and everybody just had an absolute blast. And it was one of those things like, I don't know if we do that every year, but it was a really fun one-off. And that's the kind of stuff we're looking to do, is not get too heady with it, but really have fun with, we all are really into running, but we don't need another 5K. Let's be honest.
That's right.
Exactly.
Yep.
And you break some ankles on some embankment on a speedway.
Yeah.
But it's funny because the triathlon is actually taking a page out of that book, because since they've actually been getting back into really just trying to televise and market triathlon quite a bit. So Challenge, which is the actual organization that runs specific events, recently they've done Miami Homestead, and then they started off their season doing Daytona to try and mix kind of that NASCAR or that race type field with the triathletes. And it was just awesome because you had the athletes coming out of the water, and then you had the analysts just with their microphones right there, just right in front of them the moment they came out into the transition. So I can kind of see something like that, picking up and running, just kind of go to maybe some of these small dirt tracks where, it's just all about having a good time and having some fun and having some good beer and just going out and, maybe killing some PRs at the same time.
Kevin, I got a triathlon fun fact for you right now. I don't know if you're aware of this.
Go ahead.
But do you know who came in last in the very first Sir Walter Miler?
The very first Sir Walter, 7 years.
There's a triathlon connection.
At a very high level, an Olympic level per se, if I can say that.
Oh, you're giving too much away, Sandy.
So, male or female?
Male.
U.S. born or foreign?
U.S.
U.S. born, male. Andy Potts?
Morgan Pearson.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, Morgan went to Duke for a few years before he went to Colorado. And, to his credit, Morgan's a machine. He's an animal. When he came to the Miler that year, he was coming off injury and was not in the current physical shape that he is now. And it's really cool seeing him become like a star in the triathlon scene and become an Olympian this year because we'd heard the stories about him doing these workouts. And, we saw him race. He was not quite there then, but it's incredible to watch his progression. And that'll be trivia for Sir Walter forever. So I hope you're listening to this podcast, Sir Walter fans.
No, that's pretty cool. We actually had the guy that he actually bumped out of the spot because this guy actually was part of the Olympic team for Rio. So Ben Canute out in Arizona. And it was actually a battle for that last spot. And that's phenomenal. So
the two dads run Olympic jinx has,
so
we're Ben Canute
we'll wait
and
till
Kira D'Amato.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we had Kira D'Amato.
She's going to be okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she has a phenomenal story. And, kind of like what you were talking about, Pat, it's just fun to maybe just take those breaks, through your life to just maybe, spend some quality time with the family, maybe just reassess what you're doing to just kind of have fun with what you've been wanting to do. And then get back and running, and you just feel rejuvenated with the running, with the running scene again. So, in regards to the future, Sandy, I'll start off with you, Sandy. So, what does the future hold for you, and with your individual goals, and then also with Sir Walter running?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I personally, I just like pushing my body. So hopefully, even when I'm 80, I'll continue to do that. I'd love to get into I'd love to get into like mountain running, not like long distance, but I'm talking about like, because I enjoy like the Bear, which I'm doing in like a couple weeks. You all familiar with that? It's like that 5 mile uphill race up Grandfather Mountain.
No.
It kicks off the Highland Games. It sells out like within a day. It's really impressive. It's really cool. You start at the bottom of Grandfather and you summit it. It's like 5 miles. The last two and a half are pretty wicked. But it's a ton of fun. So I'd love to do that. It's not, get into some competitive, maybe mountain running. We'll see. But in terms of Sir Walter, I just want us to, continue. I mean, here's the deal. For me, this is like a legacy project to be a part of. So like, I hope that like 30, 40 years from now, I'm sure it'll have some different iterations. As, who knows what happened. Of course, we never thought we'd deal with a, national pandemic.
Right.
But I mean, but the reality is like, if we keep putting on this meet, like we'll be one of maybe like 2 or 3 domestic meets, maybe us and like Prefontaine are like the only like, meets that have continued over all these years. So I hope we can continue to put on, even if it looks a little bit different from year to year, but like put on an excellent event where we get to bring the running community together. And as long as we can do that and then continue to put on fun events, I mean, I know some of the things we've always wanted to put on a trail race. I think we can do that. I think there's some cool spots in the area. We'll have to figure out what the best move is, but we've got a team that like, I think has a good pulse on what's cool, but also like what's feasible and what we can do realistically. And so I think we'll keep tracking on that front. And then we'll see. I mean, I think, it'd be fun to do some sort of like relay, maybe like around the triangle or so. I don't know. Like, I think we're always thinking like, what's the next thing? That's the fun thing, is that we have like kind of our flagship events, but we also think it to say like, hey, what would be fun to do? And believe me, we watch all their disciplines. I mean, heck, you'll even find me. I mean, I love watching other sports just to see like how they do advertising, how we can learn from Sir Walter, or like, and then the biking world, it's a great, like, what are some cool events that, George Hincapie and crew are putting on down in Greenville. And so we're just always trying to figure out like, how can we bring some innovative, cool ideas from other disciplines to our sport to continue to be inclusive and just, continue to have deeper roots locally. And whatever that looks like event wise, we're all for. And I mean, obviously with continuing to have, the Sir Walter Miler year after year, I just hope that'll continue to grow, and that we'll, like I said, decades from now, we'll still be putting it on.
Very excited to see that. And it's funny that you mentioned George Hincapie, because as you were talking about trail running, I mean, I feel that trail running this popularity is just kind of like these meme stocks. It is just getting so much popularity right now. But so you mentioned as far as out, and you said Grandfather Mountain, correct?
That's correct.
So George Hincapie and Lance Armstrong were just in our backyard at Pilot Mountain. Yeah. Did you see that?
Pisgah National. No, I told Pat sent it to me. He's like, dude, we got to go run this. I was like, absolutely.
But I mean, did you see Lance saying that those last few miles were brutal? I mean, to see that guy just like in the Hurt Locker. So,
love it.
Well, definitely looking forward to seeing it.
Give us a call if you go to run that. We'll join you.
Another thing too, and Pat was probably going to jump in, but I'm gonna get in front of him here. But one of the things too is like Pat and I love to like go to cool running spots, like whether it be races. Like we have some like bucket list races that I know I want to get to, like just some just some old road races, like Cooper River, Peachtree, Virginia 10 miler, just ones that have been there for a long time. But also like running locales. So coming off Pat's 40th birthday a couple years ago, we went to Boulder, had a blast, and like we hit all the main, big running spots, eateries, coffee spots, beer spots. It's awesome. So we were like, man, we need to create like a company or some like offshoot of our Sir Walter, called like Sir Walter Adventures, or Pat, what do we say? Sir Walter that's right, expeditions, and basically go to these places and like craft like these like running weekends or long weekends, and invite people and say, hey, pay this price, everything's included. But like Flagstaff and Boulder, or Bend, Oregon, or even locally like Boone or Blowing Rock, so or Asheville. So we got some stuff that we still want to do that we're gonna, as long as our wives allow us, we're gonna try to figure out how to make it a reality.
The boss has to approve.
That's exactly right.
All four of us are in that boat. Yes, we can't do anything without that approval.
That's right.
Well, cool. Pat, what about yourself? So, what's on the horizon for you? What are some of the things that you're very excited and challenging yourself personally, and then, along with Sandy, with Sir Walter Running?
Yeah, I mean, personally, it's fun for me to always be able to run. When I was running a few days a week, I kind of missed it. And I've kind of learned over the years, like we were talking about earlier, I can always run, whether it's hard or just jogging around. It's always fun to have it in my life, because, Thursday nights run club, that's when I get to go out and talk to people and do all that. And that's just a huge part of what we do. And, when talking about kind of successes and where we're going, the times when I think we've had the biggest successes, we didn't see them coming. I mean, in 2016, when we had 3 women break 4:30 and run the 3 fastest times in the world at that point, and then have the big article in Sports Illustrated, we didn't see that coming. A couple years ago when we had 13 guys run under 4 minutes in the same race, it was the most sub-4s in one race in history. So we didn't see that coming. And so I'm happy to try to put on fun events, cool events, and kind of things, whether they're for the local community or for, elite athletes, and then, set ourselves up for success and then see what happens. But like Sandy said, I think the trail race is one we've been batting around for years, and the adventure thing. When we did my birthday trip, it was 6 or 7 of us, and we talked to all our friends in Boulder. They told us where to go, and it was kind of funny. The last night out, we went to this, I don't know if I'd call it was like a tap room, but it was like a food truck rodeo situation. And we ran into, a few people that had run Sir Walter. We're kind of like, what are you doing here? They're like, well, it's Emma Coburn's birthday tonight. You knew, right? And so it's all these pro runners. We knew some of them, we didn't know others, but it was like biggest track nerd party of all time. And of course, all of our running friends are like, well, you guys planned that, obviously. And we're like, actually, we didn't. But I think we're probably spoiled to think, oh, if you go to Boulder, this is just how it is. But those are kind of some of our dreams that we hope to get to. I think, as you guys all know, with kids and, wives and all that stuff, you have to be very deliberate with your time. So Sandy and I, we talk every day and try to hone in on whatever is going to make us happy, and then hopefully make the local and national community happy too. But, your guess is as good as mine. We're going to keep thinking. And then, when we kind of whittle it down and run it past the team and land on something, you'll know.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much talking about being deliberate with your time. We certainly appreciate the time that you've taken to spend with us tonight. We're going to wrap it here. Thank you guys so much for what you have done for the community. It's really awesome. So happy for all of the success that you've had, and can't wait to see what Sir Walter Myler's got coming up, and Sir Walter running. I'm looking forward to maybe getting out for a trail race, and Sandy, maybe I'll see you out there on the half marathon course. And it's been awesome talking to you guys. Really appreciate you guys coming on.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, guys. You guys have a good one.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks everyone for checking out the episode. Thank you to our guests, Pat and Sandy, for joining us this week. Awesome conversation from those guys. Thank you to Eric, our producer, for making us sound like not idiots as usual. Thanks. Please remember to subscribe, give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. As well, you can check us out on social media. We are at Two Dads Run Podcast on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all that good stuff. You can also email the show if you'd like, twodadsrun@gmail.com. And we will talk to you next week.
Bye, everyone.